The skies above Washington, D.C. darkened as the massive alien ship descended through the clouds. People gathered in streets and parks, staring upward with a mixture of awe and fear. Scientists and military personnel had detected the approaching vessel 3 days earlier, giving humanity little time to prepare for first contact. The year was 2157, just 6 months after humans had achieved faster-than-light travel with the experimental ship Morning Star. Earth was taking its first steps into the galactic community, but no one expected visitors so soon. Ambassador Frank Miller adjusted his tie nervously as he stood on the landing platform specially constructed for this historic meeting. Beside him, Admiral Susan Wright maintained a stoic expression, though her hand rested cautiously near her sidearm. Cameras from every major news network captured the moment as a beam of blue light shot down from the ship, materializing into 5 humanoid figures. The aliens stood nearly 7 feet tall with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Their leader stepped forward wearing elaborate robes adorned with symbols that shifted and changed as if alive. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Council Representative Zorthel of the Galactic Council. We welcome you to the interstellar community." Frank stepped forward and extended his hand in greeting. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you to our world. I am Ambassador Frank Miller." Zorthel stared at the offered hand before awkwardly mimicking the gesture. "Your species has achieved the threshold technology required for Council recognition. We have come to offer membership in our ancient coalition of 27 spacefaring civilizations." The next 3 days were filled with meetings and diplomatic exchanges. The alien delegation presented humanity with thousands of pages of information about the Galactic Council, its history spanning over 15,000 years, and the benefits of membership. They spoke of shared technology, trade opportunities, and protection from hostile forces that lurked in the darkness between stars. In the White House Situation Room, Frank reviewed the membership agreement with a team of Earth's best legal experts and diplomats. The initial excitement began to fade as they uncovered concerning details buried within the complex document. "They classify us as a developing world," said Frank, pointing to a subsection on page 347. "That puts us under special provisions." Olivia Jones, the lead diplomatic analyst, nodded grimly. "Special provisions that include resource quotas, technological restrictions, and limited voting rights for a probationary period of 200 years. Frank looked up from the document. 200 years? That's generations of humans living under these restrictions. Admiral Wright, who had remained mostly silent during the diplomatic proceedings, finally spoke up. "They're not offering partnership. They're offering colonization with a pretty name." President Richard Hayes frowned as he listened to their concerns. "Are we certain about this interpretation? Could this be a cultural misunderstanding?" "I've cross-referenced these terms with the information they provided about other member species," said Olivia. "Worlds classified as developing have never advanced beyond that status. The Threldan have been members for over 300 years and still cannot build their own starships without council approval." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "I'll speak with Zorthel directly," Frank said. "Perhaps we can negotiate better terms." The next morning, Frank met with the council representative in the carefully prepared diplomatic suite. Sunlight streamed through tall windows as they sat across from each other at a polished oak table. "Council representative, we've reviewed your membership agreement and have some concerns," Frank began, keeping his tone respectful but firm. "The classification of Earth as a developing world comes with significant restrictions that would limit our sovereignty." Zorthel's expression remained neutral. "All new member species begin as developing worlds. It is for your protection and the stability of the galactic community. 200 years is an excessive probationary period for humans. Our lifespans are much shorter than many council species. We request a reduction to 20 years with clear milestones for advancement." The alien's silver skin darkened slightly. "The terms are standard and non-negotiable," Frank leaned forward. "Then perhaps we should delay membership until Earth is ready for a more equitable arrangement." Zorthel's eyes narrowed. That would be unwise, Ambassador. The Council has already invested resources in integrating your world. Rejection of membership would be seen as hostile action. Are you threatening Earth? I am explaining reality, Zorthel said coldly. The galaxy is not a safe place for isolated worlds. The Council offers protection. Without it, there are entities that would view your planet as merely resources to be harvested. Frank felt a chill run down his spine. Including the Council? Zorthel stood abruptly. You have 48 hours to sign the agreement. Should you refuse, the Council will implement pacification protocols to ensure Earth does not become a destabilizing force in this sector. After the alien delegation returned to their ship, an emergency meeting was called in the underground bunker beneath the Pentagon. President Hayes sat at the head of the table, his face grim as Frank reported on the conversation. So those are our options? Surrender our freedom or face attack? The president asked. Admiral Wright shook her head. They think we'll roll over because they have superior technology. But they have no idea what humans do when backed into a corner. General John Bell, the head of Earth's United Military Command, spread satellite images on the table. We've been monitoring their ship. It's impressive, but not invincible, and it's alone. They don't see us as a threat, said Olivia. That gives us one advantage. President Hayes looked around the room. At Earth's leadership, I will not sign away humanity's future to alien overlords. But I also won't rush into a war we can't win. We need time and information. Frank nodded slowly. Then we give them what they expect. We act submissive, sign their agreement, and play the part of the grateful primitive species. While secretly preparing for resistance, finished Admiral Wright. Exactly. We build our strength, learn their weaknesses, and strike when they least expect it. The next day, in a televised ceremony, Frank signed the Council membership agreement. With a forced smile, Zorthal seemed pleased with humanity's apparent submission, unaware of the determination that burned behind the ambassador's friendly expression. As the alien ship departed Earth a week later, leaving behind a small delegation to oversee the transition, Admiral Wright gathered Earth's military leadership in the secure bunker. The room was silent as she activated a holographic display showing the galaxy according to Council maps. They think we're just another species to dominate, she told them, her voice steady and determined. They see our shorter lifespans and think we lack patience. They see our recent achievement of faster-than-light travel and think we lack knowledge. They see our peaceful greeting and think we lack courage. She zoomed in on Earth, a small blue dot in a vast sea of stars. But they've made a critical mistake. They've threatened our home, our freedom, and our future. And in doing so, they've given us something dangerous. She looked around the room at the resolute faces of Earth's defenders. They've given us a reason to fight. 5 years passed since Earth signed the Galactic Council membership agreement. On the surface, humanity appeared to accept their role as a developing world. Council ships regularly visited Earth to collect the required resource quotas. Council inspectors walked through human cities with their data devices, documenting human technology and ensuring no forbidden advancements were being pursued. To the watching eyes of the Council, humanity seemed docile and compliant. Behind this mask of submission, a quiet rebellion took shape. President Hayes had created the Earth Conservation Initiative shortly after signing the agreement. The public believed it was a program to protect Earth's environment and manage resources. In reality, it served as cover for humanity's secret preparations. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, workers had expanded an old military bunker into a massive underground complex. The facility stretched for miles through the mountain range with labs, factories, and training centers all hidden from Council sensors. Here humanity developed its response to Council oppression. Dr. Alan Grant stood in the central laboratory examining the alien device on his workbench. He had spent 3 years reverse engineering Council technology from small parts smuggled out of their ships or traded with sympathetic aliens. Beside him, Dr. Olivia Jones monitored readings on a holographic display. I think we've finally cracked their shield technology, Alan said, pushing his glasses up on his nose. The energy matrix is stable at 87% efficiency. Olivia nodded with satisfaction. That's better than their own shipboard shields according to the specs we obtained from the Threlden trader. A door slid open and Admiral Wright entered the lab, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. Please tell me you have good news. The Council is increasing inspections next month. Alan gestured to the small device glowing with blue energy. We've miniaturized their shield technology and improved it. We can install these on our stealth ships now. And the Council won't detect them? Wright asked. Not if they're using standard scanning protocols, Olivia confirmed. We've modified the energy signature to appear as background radiation. Admiral Wright allowed herself a small smile. Excellent work. Captain Foster is waiting for this upgrade before her next mission. In another section of the underground facility, Captain Jane Foster supervised final modifications to her ship. The Defiance looked nothing like conventional human spacecraft. Its sleek black hull absorbed light rather than reflecting it. No visible engines or weapons marred its smooth surface. It resembled a predatory fish adapted for the deepest ocean trenches. Jane walked through the narrow corridors, checking systems and speaking with her crew. Each member had been carefully selected for their skills, loyalty, and ability to keep secrets. Most had family on the surface who knew only that they worked on classified projects. The weight of this deception sometimes troubled Jane, but she reminded herself of what was at stake. Engineer Paul Davis looked up from the control panel he was calibrating. Captain, we've integrated the new stealth systems. According to simulations, we should be invisible to Council sensors even at close range. Good, Jane replied. We leave in 6 hours. Make sure everything is double-checked. The Defiance had already completed 3 clandestine missions beyond the solar system. They had mapped Council patrol routes, placed surveillance devices near key installations, and made contact with other species who resisted Council rule. Each mission brought valuable intelligence and technology back to Earth, while scientists and soldiers prepared in secret Earth's diplomats fought their own quiet battle. Greg Phillips had been appointed as Earth's representative to the Council's central administration on the distant world of Velnor. His official job was to process Earth's resource quota reports and submit formal requests for consideration by the Council. Greg sat in his small office reviewing documents when a tall, thin alien entered. Creolax was the Council inspector assigned to Earth, a role that made most humans avoid him. Greg greeted him with a practiced smile. Inspector Creolax, welcome. I was just preparing the monthly compliance report. The inspector's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. I trust everything is in order, Representative Phillips. My last visit to your world showed no concerning developments. Earth remains committed to Council guidelines, Greg replied smoothly. Though I must say our scientists are disappointed by the restrictions on quantum computing research. Creolax made a dismissive gesture with one of his 4 arms. Such technology is beyond human understanding for at least another century. The restrictions protect you from developing dangerous applications prematurely. Greg nodded with apparent acceptance. Of course, speaking of technology, I heard rumors about Council ships experiencing navigation failures near the Vorkesh sector. Is there any concern about similar issues affecting ships visiting Earth? The question seemed innocent, but Greg was fishing for information. Each conversation with Council officials provided small pieces of intelligence that, when combined with other sources, helped humanity build a clearer picture of Council operations and vulnerabilities. Nothing that need concern Earth, Creolax said. The Vorkesh have become somewhat troublesome lately, questioning their development classification. After 300 years of membership, the Council is handling the situation. Later that day, Greg encrypted this information and sent it through a series of secure channels disguised as cultural exchange data. Eventually, it would reach Admiral Wright, providing another piece of the puzzle. The Vorkesh-like humanity chafed under Council restrictions. They might become valuable allies. Back on Earth, in the White House Situation Room, President Hayes met with her Security Council. 5 years of preparation had strengthened Earth's position, but they needed more time. The Council is demanding increased resource quotas, said Frank Miller, now serving as Secretary of State. particularly rare Earth elements that are vital to both their technology and our own program. Admiral Wright frowned. We're already at the limit of what we can provide without compromising our own needs. Can we negotiate a delay? Asked the President. Frank shook his head. I've tried. They're sending ships to Australia next month to oversee the mining operations directly. They call it technical assistance, but it's really increased supervision. How ready are we if this turns into a confrontation? President Hayes asked Admiral Wright. We have 20 stealth ships operational with 10 more under construction. Our weapon systems can match Council technology in limited engagements, but we're not ready for open conflict. The President looked at the global map displayed on the wall showing Council presence on Earth. Red dots marked their observation posts, landing zones, and resource collection facilities. Then we need more time. Tell the mining operations to comply with Council demands for now. Captain Foster's intelligence suggests the Threldan rebellion is growing. If they move against the Council in the next year, it could provide the distraction we need. No one in the room spoke the hard truth they all understood. Every concession to the Council came at a cost to Earth's resources and dignity. Every delay meant more world suffering under Council domination. Yet rushing into conflict before they were ready would doom not just their own resistance but the hope of all oppressed species. In the engineering lab, Alan and Olivia continued their work long into the night. In the hidden shipyard, Jane prepared the Defiance for another dangerous mission. In his distant office, Greg gathered intelligence while appearing to submit to Council authority. Across Earth and beyond, humans and their secret allies prepared for the day when they would strike back against their oppressors. That day was coming, but not quite yet. For now, the quiet rebellion continued as humanity bided its time, waiting for the right moment to show the Galactic Council just how dangerous it was to threaten Earth. The sun beat down on the dry Australian Earth as massive Council mining machines tore into the ground near Brisbane. For 2 months, the alien overseers had pushed the mining operations beyond sustainable limits. The Council demanded more rare Earth elements, claiming they were needed for important projects that would benefit all member species. Local workers knew this was a lie. They saw how the extracted materials were loaded onto Council ships with no accounting, no fair payment, and no concern for the environmental damage left behind. Sam Cooper wiped sweat from his brow as he operated the drilling equipment. Like many workers, he had family in Brisbane who depended on his paycheck. Like many workers, he also secretly supported the resistance. Small acts of defiance occurred. Daily, equipment mysteriously malfunctioned. Shipments were mislabeled. Records became confused. Nothing big enough to trigger punishment, but enough to slow the Council's resource theft. Council Commander Dresder stomped across the mining site, his tall frame casting a long shadow in the afternoon sun. Production is 15% below. Quota again? He snapped at the human supervisor. Explain this failure. The supervisor kept her expression neutral. The equipment needs maintenance. These machines weren't designed for continuous operation in these conditions. Unacceptable, Dresder hissed. Double the work shifts. The next shipment must meet the full quota. Sir, the workers are already exhausted. We need to... Your excuses are irrelevant. Implement my orders, or I will replace you with someone who will. Word of the increased quotas spread through the mining camp and into Brisbane. That evening, hundreds of citizens gathered outside the Council compound. They carried signs and chanted protests against the exploitation of their land and people. Most were ordinary citizens, teachers, shopkeepers, nurses, families with children. They came not as soldiers, but as people who had finally reached their breaking point. Colonel Peter Martinez watched the growing crowd with concern. As the commanding officer of Australia's Defence Forces, he was responsible for maintaining order, but his sympathies lay with the protesters. The Council's demands had grown increasingly unreasonable. Reports from his intelligence officers indicated similar situations were developing at mining sites across the planet. Martinez's radio crackled. Colonel, the Council security forces are deploying. They're armed with crowd suppression weapons. Martinez frowned. His orders from High Command were clear. Avoid confrontation with Council forces. Do not reveal military capabilities. Maintain the illusion of compliance. But he couldn't stand by if civilians were threatened. Move our troops. Into position, he ordered. Standard peacekeeping protocol. No advanced weapons. I want a buffer between the protesters and Council forces. At the edge of the Council compound, a line of alien security personnel formed. They carried long staffs that crackled with energy designed to cause pain without leaving marks. Behind them, Dresser watched with obvious disdain. A young woman stepped forward from the crowd. We just want fair treatment, she called out. These are our resources, our land, our people? We demand respect as equals. Dresser made a sharp gesture. Disperse immediately. This gathering violates Council security protocols. More protesters joined the young woman. We have the right to peaceful assembly. We demand to speak with Earth's Council representative. You have no rights except those the Council grants you, Dresser replied. Final warning, disperse or face pacification. Colonel Martinez moved closer, positioning his troops between the two groups. Council Commander, I suggest we de-escalate this situation. Let me speak with the protest leaders. Your suggestion is rejected. Human security forces will stand down. The crowd continued to advance, chanting louder, holding their signs higher. A small object, a water bottle, thrown by someone in the back of the crowd, sailed over the protesters and landed at the feet of the Council security line. It was a harmless act born of frustration, not an attack. But Dresser used it as an excuse. Pacify them, he ordered. The Council forces moved forward as one, swinging their energy staffs. The front line of protesters fell, screaming in pain. Panic spread through the crowd as people tried to retreat but were blocked by those behind them, unable to see what was happening. Children cried. People called for help. Colonel Martinez felt something break inside him. 7 years of watching. Council abuses? 7 years of following orders to stand down, submit, comply. 7 years too many. Protect the civilians, he commanded his troops. Non-lethal response authorized. Australian soldiers moved forward, deploying riot shields and stun weapons. They formed a protective barrier between the retreating protesters and advancing Council forces. For a moment it seemed the violence might be contained. Then Dresser gave another order. Council troops raised their weapons and fired directly. Into the crowd? Energy bolts struck 17 civilians, killing them instantly. Martinez's training took over. Defensive positions. Return fire. Protect the civilians at all costs. For the first time since the Council arrived on Earth, human military forces openly engaged alien troops. The Australian soldiers revealed training and equipment far beyond what the Council believed humans possessed. Their weapons punched through alien armor. Their tactics showed intimate knowledge of Council weaknesses. Years of secret preparation paid off in those critical minutes. Dresser watched in shock as his forces were pushed back. This is impossible. Their technology is primitive. Martinez led from the front, directing his troops with calm efficiency. Secure the wounded. Establish a perimeter. Get the civilians to safety. Council reinforcements poured from the compound but met unexpected resistance. Hidden defensive systems activated around the mining site, disabling alien weapons. The Australian forces fought with discipline and unexpected effectiveness. Within 30 minutes, the Council troops retreated to their compound, leaving their dead and wounded behind. Martinez knew what he had done. The careful deception maintained for 7 years had been broken. He had directly disobeyed orders by revealing advanced human capabilities. But as he looked at the civilians his troops had saved, he felt no regret. He activated his secure communication device. This is Colonel Martinez. Brisbane Defense Forces. Engage Council troops following unprovoked attack on civilians. 17 civilian casualties. Council forces contained. Requesting immediate instructions. The response came not from his direct superiors but from Admiral Wright herself. Hold. Position Colonel. Reinforcements en route. You did the right thing. The Brisbane incident just became the spark we needed. News of the battle spread across Earth and beyond faster than the Council could contain it. For the first time, Council forces had been defeated in open combat by a supposedly primitive species. The carefully crafted image of Council invincibility cracked. In the White House Situation Room, President Lavra Wilson met with her War Cabinet. The screens showed reports coming in from around the globe as Council forces moved to secure their positions. The Council representative is demanding we disarm immediately and surrender all military leaders for trial, Secretary of State Frank Miller reported. They're specifically asking for Colonel Martinez to be handed over. Admiral Wright stood by the tactical display. Brisbane was inevitable. The Council pushed too hard for too long. Martinez did what any of us would have done, President Wilson nodded. What's our status? Our hidden fleets are ready. Ground forces are moving into position. The Threldan and Vorkesh rebellions are prepared to coordinate with our offensive. Admiral Wright's eyes showed fierce determination. We're as ready as we'll ever be. President. Wilson looked at each person in the room before speaking. 7 years ago, we chose to bend rather than break. We played the part they expected while preparing for this day. Now they've shown their true nature to all of Earth. She stood straight and resolute. Draft my response to the Council. Make it brief. Frank composed the message on a secure terminal. The President reviewed it, nodded once, and pressed the transmit button. Across all communication channels, Earth's answer went out to the Galactic Council's demands. Humanity does not surrender to tyrants regardless of which planet they come from. In Brisbane, Colonel Martinez watched as the first reinforcements arrived, not just Australian troops but soldiers from every nation on Earth. The quiet rebellion had ended. The real fight was about to begin. Alarms blared throughout the Council orbital station above Earth as reports of the Brisbane incident reached Council High Command. Council Representative Zorthel paced furiously in his command center, his silver skin now dark with rage. The humans had deceived them for years, hiding their true capabilities while pretending to be compliant. Worse, they had actually defeated Council forces in direct combat. Such defiance could not go unpunished. Deploy all regional security fleets to the Sol system, Zorthel ordered. I want this rebellion crushed immediately. His subordinate looked uncertain. So standard protocol for primitive world pacification requires approval from central authority. Do not quote protocols to me, Zorthel snapped. Earth has revealed itself as a threat to galactic stability. We will make an example of them. Unaware of the approaching Council fleets, Captain Jane Foster prepared the Defiance and 20 similar stealth ships for their most important mission yet. Hidden in Earth's orbit, the small fleet represented humanity's best technology and most skilled crews. Operation Lighthouse, the plan they had trained for over years, was finally activated. In the cramped command center of the Defiance, Jane addressed her crew through the ship's communication system. For 7 years, we've prepared for this moment. Today, we strike back against those who thought they could subjugate Earth. Our mission is to disable the Council's orbital facilities around our planet while ground forces reclaim our territory. This operation must succeed if Earth is to have any chance against the coming Council retaliation. Engineer Paul Davis monitored the ship's advanced systems. Stealth systems at full capacity, Captain. The Council's sensors still show no sign of detecting us. Good, Jane replied. Signal the fleet. Execute Phase 1 on my mark. She took a deep breath, looking at the tactical display showing Council installations orbiting Earth. Mark. 21 ships simultaneously dropped their stealth fields, appearing seemingly from nowhere in precise positions around each Council orbital facility. Before the shocked alien crews could respond, the human vessels fired precisely calibrated energy weapons targeting communication arrays, power systems, and weapons platforms. The attacks were surgical, designed to disable rather than destroy, minimizing casualties while rendering the Council presence in Earth orbit completely ineffective. On the Council command station, Zorthal watched in disbelief as his screens went dark one by one. Impossible. Their technology is decades beyond what our assessments indicated. Lieutenant Eric Bennett monitored the assault from Earth Defense Command buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Captain Foster reports all primary targets neutralized, minimal resistance encountered. Council orbital forces have been contained. Admiral Susan Wright nodded with satisfaction. Begin Phase 2. All ground forces execute their objectives. Across the planet, Earth's military units emerged from hidden bases revealing equipment and capabilities the Council never suspected humans possessed. They surrounded Council installations with overwhelming force. Most Council outposts surrendered without fighting, having lost communication with their orbital support and facing weapons that could penetrate their defenses. In Brisbane, Colonel Martinez led the assault on the main Council compound. His forces moved with precision using tactics developed specifically for fighting Council troops. Energy shields absorbed alien weapon fire while human soldiers advanced steadily. Inside the compound, Commander Dresser frantically tried to contact his superiors. Central Command, this is Brisbane Outpost. We are under attack by human forces using advanced technology. Request immediate evacuation. No response came. His communication systems remained dead. Outside, human forces breached the outer defenses. Dresser looked at his remaining troops. Prepare final defense protocols. We will not surrender to primitives. Martinez's voice came over a broadcast system. Council forces, this is Colonel Peter Martinez of Earth Defense Forces. Your orbital support has been neutralized. You are surrounded. Surrender and you will be treated according to interstellar conflict conventions. Dresser snarled in defiance. Humans have no standing to invoke conventions. We are the Council, we make the rules. Not anymore, Martinez replied simply. The final assault took less than 20 minutes. Council forces found their superior weapons failing against human countermeasures. Martinez personally accepted Dresser as surrender, the alien commander's pride visibly broken. Similar scenes played out globally as humanity reclaimed its planet. After 7 years of occupation, the Council presence on Earth was eliminated in less than 6 hours. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. In high orbit, Jane Foster received new orders from Admiral Wright. The Defiance and 5 other stealth ships would take position at the edge of the solar system to monitor for incoming Council forces. Jane knew they wouldn't have to wait long. Deploy sensor drones along all major approach vectors, she ordered. We need early warning when their fleet arrives. Her tactical officer nodded. Deployed, Captain? Wait, I'm detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching from the Proxima Centauri direction. Jane felt her heart sink. Already? How many? At least 30 ships, Captain. Council markings, heavy cruiser configuration. Jane activated the fleet communication channel. All ships, this is Captain Foster. Council reinforcements incoming. Fall back to defensive positions around Saturn. We'll use the rings for cover. The small human fleet moved into position, hiding among the ice and rock of Saturn's magnificent rings. It was a defensive strategy they had practiced countless times in simulation. The dense material would disrupt Council targeting systems while providing cover for hit-and-run attacks. The Council war fleet emerged from hyperspace, its massive ships dwarfing the human vessels. At their center flew the command carrier, a behemoth of alien engineering bristling with weapons. From its bridge, Council High Commander Vexenor directed the assault. Scan the system for human military assets, he ordered. Prioritize orbital facilities and defensive installations. His sensor officer worked the controls with 4 arms moving in perfect coordination. Detecting disabled Council stations in Earth orbit? No sign of the vessels responsible. Wait, sensors are picking up unusual energy signatures near Saturn. Vexenor studied the tactical display. A primitive attempt at hiding. Move half the fleet to engage. The rest will proceed to Earth and begin planetary pacification. As the Council ships approached Saturn, the trap was sprung. Human vessels darted from hiding, firing precisely at Council weak points before disappearing back into the rings. Council weapons fired blindly into the debris, most shots hitting nothing but ice and rock. Aboard the Defiance, Jane coordinated the attack. Alpha Group, target their engines. Beta Group, disable their weapons arrays. Strike fast, then retreat to cover. The human ships moved with surprising speed and agility. Years of studying Council technology had revealed critical weaknesses in their design. Council ships relied on overwhelming firepower and heavy armor, making them powerful but slow to maneuver. The smaller human vessels exploited this disadvantage perfectly. Vexenor watched in growing anger as his ships reported damage from enemies they could barely target. Launch fighter squadrons, flush them out of hiding. Council fighters swarmed. From the larger ships, hundreds of small craft searching through Saturn's rings. For a moment, it seemed the human fleet would be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Then new signals appeared on Council sensors. "Commander, unknown vessels approaching from Jupiter," reported the sensor officer, alarm in his voice. "They're not human configuration." Vexenor stared at the display as dozens of ships appeared. Their design was familiar. Threldan vessels? Here? Impossible. The Threldan fleet opened fire on the Council fighters, clearing a path for the human ships. A transmission came through on all frequencies. "This is Elder Kryvash of the Threldan Free Forces. We stand with our human allies against Council tyranny." Jane couldn't help smiling as she saw the Threldan ships join the battle. Greg Phillips' diplomatic work had paid off. The carefully cultivated alliance was bearing fruit at the perfect moment. "All ships coordinate attacks with Threldan forces," she ordered. "Focus on the command carrier." The combined human and Threldan fleet moved with unified purpose, their attacks synchronized and devastating. Council ships accustomed to fighting alone against inferior opponents found themselves outmaneuvered by smaller, more agile vessels working in perfect coordination. Aboard his command carrier, Vexenor faced the unthinkable. His fleet was losing. Pull back to defensive formation. Prepare for hyperspace jump. His second-in-command looked shocked. "Sir, we cannot retreat from primitives." "Those primitives just destroyed 3 of our heavy cruisers," Vexenor snapped. "We must regroup and return with a larger force." Before the command carrier could escape, a final coordinated attack from human and Threldan ships disabled its engines. Vexenor watched in horror as the Defiance approached his crippled vessel. Jane's voice came through the communication system, clear and confident. "Council High Commander, this is Captain Jane Foster of Earth Defense Forces. Your fleet is defeated. Your command ship is disabled. Surrender now." Vexenor stood rigid with fury. "I will not surrender to inferior species." "Then perhaps it's time for new leadership in this sector." News of the Council defeat spread across the galaxy faster than any attempt to suppress it. For the first time in thousands of years, the mighty Galactic Council had lost a military engagement to a supposedly primitive species. The carefully maintained image of Council invincibility shattered. On dozens of worlds classified as developing, other species began to question their own subjugation. The Vorkash were the next to openly rebel. Their crystalline cities became battlegrounds as they fought to expel Council forces from their homeworld. Then the Nexari, a species known for their patience after 500 years under Council rule, suddenly seized control of 3 major trade hubs. Within 2 months of the Battle of Saturn's Rings, a quarter of the galaxy was in open revolt against Council authority. In the Central Council chamber on the ancient world of Velnor, the ruling members gathered in emergency session. Elder Councilor Kithmol, the oldest and most respected leader, pounded his ceremonial staff for order. "This chamber has not seen such chaos since the Rift Wars 10,000 years ago. We must respond decisively to these rebellions." Council Representative Zorthal stood to address the assembly, his once proud bearing now diminished by his failure on Earth. "The humans must be made an example of. I propose we deploy the planet killer weapons. One demonstration will bring the other rebels back in line." Murmurs ran through the chamber. The planet killers had not been used in millennia. They represented the ultimate expression of Council power weapons capable of rendering a world uninhabitable in minutes. Their use was considered extreme even by Council standards. Elder Councilor Kithmol looked troubled. "Such action would violate our own most sacred laws. Planet killers are authorized only against extinction-level threats. These rebellions are an extinction-level threat to the Council itself," Zorthal argued. "The humans have shared their technology with the Threldan and Vorkesh. They've exposed our vulnerabilities. If we don't act now, we risk losing everything our ancestors built. After heated debate, the Council narrowly approved Zorthalef's proposal. 3 planet-killer weapons would be deployed immediately, one targeting Earth as the source of the rebellion. The Council would reassert its dominance through overwhelming force. They did not know that Greg Phillips, Earth's representative, was no longer the meek diplomat they believed him to be. He had spent years building relationships with staff members from various species throughout the Council bureaucracy. When the Planet Killer authorization was processed, a Threldan sympathizer immediately alerted him. Greg sent the warning through secure channels directly to Admiral Wright. Council has authorized Planet Killers. 3 targets including Earth. Estimated arrival 72 hours. In the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, Earth's leadership gathered to face this new threat. Admiral Wright pointed to the tactical display showing the projected path of the Council weapon. Our intelligence confirms the Planet Killer is essentially a massive gravity weapon. It creates localized distortions in space-time that tear a planet apart from the inside. President Wilson's face was grim. Can we stop it? Not with our current capabilities. These weapons are designed to be unstoppable, Admiral Wright paused. But we might be able to intercept the deployment vessel before it reaches firing range. Dr. Alan Grant, who had spent years studying Council technology, offered a different perspective. The weapon itself is unstoppable, but its delivery system isn't. Council records show they haven't used these weapons in over 8,000 years. The technology will be outdated compared to their modern ships. Admiral Wright nodded. That gives us an advantage. We'll need to coordinate with our allies. This isn't just about saving Earth anymore. It's about ending Council tyranny once and for all. The call went out to all rebellion forces across the galaxy. Earth, the Threldan, the Vorkesh, and 6 other species now openly fighting Council rule agreed to unite their fleets. The newly formed Alliance of Free Worlds would make its first stand against the approaching Planet Killers. Captain Jane Foster was given command of the Intercept Fleet, a position she accepted with solemn determination. The Defiance, now upgraded, with technology from multiple allied species, led a formation of 87 ships from 7 different worlds. They took position in the Kuiper Belt beyond Neptune, waiting for the Council weapon carriers to arrive. On the bridge of the Defiance, Jane reviewed the battle plan with her officers. The Council expects us to defend Earth directly. Instead, we'll intercept them here before they can reach deployment range. Intelligence indicates 3 separate carrier vessels protected by a battle group. Her tactical officer nodded. The Threldan ships will target their escorts while our vessels focus on the weapon carriers themselves. Correct. We only get one chance at this. If even one Planet Killer reaches deployment range, Earth is lost. The wait was tense but brief. Council ships emerged from hyperspace exactly where predicted. At their center flew 3 massive carriers, ancient vessels pulled from deep storage and recommissioned for this mission. They moved with the confidence of those who expected no meaningful resistance. Jane gave the order that launched the most important battle in human history. All ships engage. Primary targets are the weapon carriers. Do not let them reach deployment range. The Allied fleet surged forward, revealing themselves to the surprised Council forces. The battle erupted across the silent void of the outer. Solar system energy weapons and missiles crisscrossing the darkness. Council ships formed defensive positions around the weapon carriers but found themselves facing opponents who knew their tactics and had prepared counters for each one. On the lead Council ship, High Commander Vexener watched with growing alarm as his escorts fell to coordinated attacks. This cannot be happening. How did they know we were coming? How did they organize this resistance so quickly? The Allied fleet pressed its advantaged ships from different worlds, working together with surprising effectiveness. Threldan vessels disabled Council shields. Vorkesh crystalline ships absorbed energy attacks and redirected them back at their sources. Human vessels executed precise strikes at critical systems. Jane kept her focus on the primary objective. Status of the weapon carriers? 2 have been disabled, Captain. The 3rd is attempting to break through our lines. Intercept course. All available ships focus fire on the final carrier. The Defiance and 5 other vessels pursued the fleeing weapon carrier. The ancient ship was faster than expected, its engines pushing it toward Earth at tremendous speed. Jane realized with growing dread that they might not catch it in time. Divert all power to engines. We need to close the gap. The Defiance surged forward, its advanced propulsion system straining to maximum capacity. Slowly, they gained on the Council vessel, but it would be close, very close. The weapon carrier was approaching deployment range, its ancient systems powering up to unleash destruction on Earth. Jane made the only decision possible. Set collision course. Prepare to ram their primary weapon housing? Her crew looked shocked, but no one protested. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing the stakes. Just as Jane prepared to give the final order, a new ship appeared directly in the weapon carrier's path. It was unlike any vessel they had seen before, its hull gleaming with an iridescent material that seemed to bend light around it. The mysterious ship fired a single pulse of energy that passed through the Council vessel's shields as if they didn't exist. The weapon carrier froze in space, its systems completely disabled. A communication came through on an open frequency. Greetings, human vessels. We are the Andoran. We have observed your struggle against Council tyranny with great interest. Jane exchanged confused looks with her crew. The Andoran were mentioned in Council records as a species that had mysteriously vanished 8,000 years ago, after refusing Council membership. This is Captain Jane Foster of Earth. We're grateful for your assistance, but we thought the Andoran were extinct. Not extinct, Captain? Merely waiting for others to recognize the truth about the Council. You humans have accomplished in 7 years what many species failed to do in millennia. You have broken their hold on the galaxy. With the planet killer threat neutralized, the Allied fleet regrouped. The Council forces retreated, having lost not just the battle but the myth of their invincibility. Word of the Andaran's return spread through the galaxy, further weakening the Council's already crumbling authority. In the months that followed, more worlds declared independence from Council rule. The Alliance of Free Worlds grew from 7 species to 23 to 42. Earth, despite its relative youth in galactic politics, became a central figure in the new coalition due to its leading role in the rebellion. 1 year after the Battle of Saturn's Rings, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on neutral ground in the Andromeda colony. President Lavra Wilson stood before the assembled delegates, her voice carrying across the Grand Chamber. Today we signed the Galactic Concordat, establishing a new form of interstellar governance based on principles of sovereignty, mutual respect, and proportional representation. No longer will any species claim inherent superiority over others. Longer will technological development be artificially restricted. Together we build a galaxy where all may reach their full potential.